Hi, my name is Gibson, and I'm the co-owner and creator of the Personal Development School. This is your daily breakthrough video, and in this video I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the anxious preoccupied version of wounded needs and how to reparent these needs. So if you haven't already watched, please make sure you go back and watch. I'll put a link in the box in the description below. Please make sure you go back and watch the previous video about the difference between our wounded needs versus our authentic, healthy adult needs, and really how this works and how our psyche sort of freezes in time and develops these hard coping mechanisms and programs for dealing with pain points. And at the time that we develop these hard coping mechanisms, at the age that we were in that time period, we don't really emotionally grow up or evolve because this coping mechanism is a program that's keeping us acting the way that we did at the time we developed this wound from an unmet need in the first place. If you watch the old video, if you haven't already seen it, not the old video, like yesterday's video, if you watch that, it will make a lot of sense because I describe it in a whole bunch of detail. And it's really important to understand the concepts, in my opinion, so we can work with this and understand what's happening inside of us. And then we also have the motivation to do the reprogramming work. So we're going to talk about in this video the anxious preoccupied version of this, what it looks like, and then some initial strategies you can use in order to reparent. I do have like a really in-depth reparenting course that has to do with reparenting attachment trauma and wounds. It's super in-depth. It has like a 15-page workbook. You can join and check that out as well. We have a 25% off membership sale going on for 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. We're basically just going to keep that alive until the COVID stuff calms down, so people have a supportive community if they want in there, where we do 4 live calls every week with all of our members, a Discord channel, all these different things. So you can check out the link below for that. I'll put the coupon code, a card on this video. And we have our lifetime memberships on sale just until October 10th because it's our month of launching it due to so many requests. So check that out as well. There will be a link for that also in the description. So let's talk about this. What happens when we have these deeply unmet needs? Well, like we talked about in yesterday's video at a very high level, I'm just going to tell you now, we develop these strong coping mechanisms to deal with the pain. And so where we have a deep unmet need, at the time we develop that strong coping mechanism, unless we go back and heal that wounded part of ourselves with that unmet need, we're usually acting from that behavioral coping mechanism. And if we develop that coping mechanism, let's say at 6 years old, and that coping mechanism was to have a temper tantrum when we don't get our needs met for attention or closeness, then maybe you find yourself in your adult life doing that and having an adult temper tantrum when you don't get those needs met for attention or closeness or whatever it might be in your case. And some of these things are the things that actually push people away and sabotage our relationships the most, because it's the 5-year-old us or 6-year-old us that developed that really painful coping mechanism that's now showing up in our adult romantic relationships, and people are like, "What? Who is this? Like, what happened to my partner that was normal yesterday?" And it's an expression of pain, and it's an expression of a wound, but it's also an expression of a program and a strategy we used to originally navigate the situation that might have worked when we were 5, but is likely to push people away when we're 35, right? So you really want to be aware of these patterns. It's super important work. So for the anxious preoccupied individual specifically, some of the biggest unmet needs that become these wounded needs, which means when we have them in our adult lives, they're overly expressed. It's like we feel desperate when these things come up. We like really need this need to be met, but we can't really solve the problem by having somebody fill our cup outside of us. We can temporarily and for little short periods of time, but it doesn't really solve the problem and stop it from coming back. Only we can do that. So for ourselves, right? So not like me, like we for ourselves. So look at this for a moment, okay? What are the biggest wounds of the anxious preoccupied in terms of their unmet needs? Well, usually to feel emotionally connected and close in a way that's going to avoid abandonment long term. So to feel like you can be safe in relationships, to feel like you are good enough for closeness and connection and commitment, to feel free of rejection and not in the short term, to feel really free of rejection, like nobody's going to reject or abandon you or leave you somewhere, like in a way that you're not belonging or that you don't deserve. And so to feel like you have the opportunity to feel like you are consistently safe and emotionally close and connected, and that that's not going to be taken away from you. And to feel at your core, basically, that you're not going to be abandoned, right? So in our wounded child needs, these are all of the places that we feel super needy. Now, those are some big ones for the anxious preoccupied, but you can have individual ones just based on your own individual experiences. So what I want you to start by doing is follow these steps I'm going to lay out here for you. Step 1, write out all of the places that you feel like you have the difference between a healthy balance need, like just wanting to go for, a nice walk on a beautiful day outside, like just this need of like, oh, this would really fill my cup, versus this like, I'm desperate for this. I feel like I can't live without this. I'm addicted to this. I can't imagine my life without this person meeting my need. And we latch on, we cling, we become super afraid of loss, we become dependent. Notice the difference, okay? One is wounded child need. You have to clean that up. The other is a healthy adult need that's going to benefit our lives, and we have healthy non-attachment to that need. So take a look and write out all the places that you feel needy, desperate, extreme longing, and just make a list, okay? Now, what I want you to know, or what I want you to basically ask yourself is, what are these things communicating to me? These feelings that are so strong, and you've written all those things out, about these deeply unmet needs that I still have alive in the relationship to myself, okay? If they weren't alive here, I always feel like I'm going to sneeze, like right when I'm recording YouTube videos. This doesn't happen to me all day. And then just when I'm recording YouTube videos, I'm like a sneezeaholic. Oh my goodness. Okay. Sorry if I'm making funny faces. Don't mind my sneezing. Okay. If they weren't alive here, okay, let me backtrack. I just distracted myself. So what are these things communicating to me about deeply unmet needs that I still have alive in the relationship to myself? And it goes back to what we were talking about in the video yesterday. Like, if they weren't alive here, the need would feel like a desire, right? If we didn't have these like wounds where we kept ourselves in lack this whole time at a subconscious level without meaning to, we wouldn't feel like I need this thing right now. We'd feel like, oh, we give this thing to ourselves. We're not in a state of self-abandonment. We show up for our own feelings. We recognize our own feelings and our own needs. We feel safe to express them and to receive them from multiple sources, from friends, from family, from colleagues, from ourselves. And so the moment somebody comes along and meets that need, it's like, oh, this is so wonderful. This feels really great. It's an extra benefit in terms of my cup being filled. It's not our only source. It's not like, oh, somebody came along and met my need for acknowledgement, and I've never had anybody meet my need for acknowledgement, and somebody does. And oh my God, I didn't realize what I was missing. And now I'm just so latched onto this person. And this is what happens to people. And this can be a big wound for the anxious preoccupied, right? So notice that if we hadn't kept ourselves in lack, then we wouldn't be needing in a way that was addictive. Like we needed that right now, and it became this like desperate, deep hunger instead of this need that we feel like we're in control of, that we feel like, oh, this would be great, but if this is taken away from me, it's not going to ruin me, okay? And so notice that when something happens, it's this wounded child need, and you feel this desperation, it's actually a golden nugget, and it's reflecting back to you something really in lack within you because of an old wound that's become a program that you've been running in your psyche on autopilot this entire time. So then what you can do to further clarify this in step 3 is ask yourself, what am I desiring now from somebody else so badly? Or when I'm in this state, what am I desiring so badly? And evaluate, how good am I at actually meeting this need within myself? And recognize, until you become talented at doing so, you will hunger outside of yourself in a way that is likely to sabotage relationships, is likely to push people away without meaning to. Because sometimes too, people can feel when you're using them to fill your cup, and it's not about like you seeing them and them seeing you in this nice, healthy, beautiful exchange of energy. They can feel that, wait, you're just trying to get me to do this thing for you right now. And remember, the subconscious mind processes 1 billion bits per second of data, and at times even more. That's its like normal processing rate. And your conscious mind, 40 to 60 bits per second of data. So, we realize at a deeper level, and it makes us feel a certain way when somebody's trying to use us to get a need met instead of be in a relationship with us, have an exchange of energy, be present in communication, conscious. And sometimes without meaning to, and this goes for all attachment styles, everybody has their version of this, but And sometimes without meaning to, we can leave that impression upon somebody and it can make them pull away. And so the only real solution, because it's long lasting, it changes the program, it makes you feel in control of yourself and your needs and empowered in your life. And then it also makes us better receivers, because then we can really receive the things, because at a subconscious level, we're giving them to ourselves and we're accustomed to receiving them from ourselves. So it feels comfortable and normal. And so it doesn't feel unfamiliar. And then our subconscious is like, ooh, we don't like unfamiliarity because it means that it's outside of our comfort zone and that's not safe and we might not survive and we don't know how to navigate these territories. And so we push it away at a deeper level. So ask yourself, what is it that I desire from others so badly? How good am I at meeting this thing within myself that I'm desiring from others? And recognize that until we become talented at this, we will hunger outside of ourselves and it won't be the actual solution. It will just be like drops in our bucket that then the hole is there and it's going to leak right out, okay? Then what you want to do is you want to create strategies to meet this need in the relationship to yourself. So that would be like a 9-hour video. We have a very in-depth course about this in the school, about how to meet your own needs. We're going to have a live Google Doc for our advanced course where all members of the school share their strategies to meet their needs for themselves. But I want to just touch on some really common ones for the anxious preoccupied. So one of the first ones is the absence of self-abandonment. So where do you abandon yourself for the approval of other people? Where do you abandon your feelings, your needs, your boundaries, your opinions, your desires, your plans? You know, where do you abandon all these things? And then that's your hole in your bucket. Then when somebody else abandons you, it's going to be like the straw that broke the camel's back, because you're sick of feeling abandoned because you're already doing it to yourself first. So where do you do these things, and how would you act differently in the relationship to yourself? Okay? How can you give yourself intimacy that you're desiring from other people? What does emotional intimacy mean to you? You know, maybe it means like really being with your feelings in meditation. Maybe journaling things out. And I know a lot of anxious preoccupied do not like doing this. And it's because it's outside of your subconscious comfort zone and you perceive at some level that, oh no, me giving time to myself is going to take away from me focusing on getting time from others. And I don't want to feel that abandonment outside of me. But it's just a vicious cycle. And the only way you really correct it is through being in a relationship to yourself first and doing the inner work. Otherwise, the cycle stays alive and then we keep accidentally pushing people away long term as well. So strategies for doing these things, and it's a necessity to recognize whenever you're coming from a space of desperation or neediness, because it will usually get you more of the opposite of what you want than what you actually want. And what you can do is when you recognize that feeling of the need coming from the wound, like, I need this right now, pause. You can return to this video and ask yourself these questions. Like, what are these things communicating about patterns that exist within me? Why do they hurt so much outside of me? And where do I do these things to myself inside of me? What am I desiring? How can I become better at meeting this need inside of me that I'm desiring from outside of me? What are my strategies to do so? And then you have to repeat, you rinse and repeat. You have to program these things in. Okay, so this is a form of reparenting. It's you recognizing with your conscious mind the wounded subconscious aspects, the childlike aspects where we develop these programs, and then using your conscious mind to reparent by using your conscious mind to give these wounded subconscious parts attention, love, its needs, meeting these needs. And it's extremely powerful work to be doing, and it really transforms relationships. So again, we have an in-depth needs course inside of the school, an advanced one coming out mid-October. We have a strengthening your self-identity course, which has all these strategies to meet your needs as well, and a reparenting course. And all of these things can be really beneficial depending on, you know, sort of the place that you feel you resonate with the most. So I hope this all makes sense. Thank you so much for watching and for being here. Please like, share, and subscribe if you're getting a lot of value out of this channel, and I will see you in the next video.